Morpho the blue butterfly and the green bee Sym-Pho-Nee. Yippee, thought Morpho as he found himself enjoying a bouncy ride on the blue camouflage backpack of a busy father surrounded by 4 really active children. The adventure-loving butterfly flattened his wings against the backpack and tightened his grip to help make sure the ride would last as long as possible. "All right, everyone, it's time to go," said the father. "We've had a great visit here at the Tropical Butterfly Pavilion, but it's time to break for lunch." As the family moved toward the exit sign, Morpho prepared himself to be removed from the backpack by staff members from the Butterfly Pavilion, who usually kept a watchful eye open for any butterflies that might accidentally be taken out of the pavilion. But this time, for whatever reason, the staff didn't notice that Morpho, whose coloring perfectly matched the blue backpack, was about to exit the pavilion and enter the great outdoors. Whoosh! A gust of wind greeted the group as they moved through the exit doors toward a minivan in the parking lot. Fortunately, Morpho's grip was still strong, and he stayed firmly attached to the blue backpack. The father and kids opened the doors to the minivan, grabbed a picnic basket and a picnic blanket, then continued walking toward a lush green park with a playground on the other side of the parking lot. The father set up the picnic items underneath a tall tree, while the children scampered off to the playground. Morpho finally had a few moments to think, and realized that he was hungry. As a blue Morpho butterfly, Morpho had a fondness for decaying fruit, like all the other butterflies of his species. He spied a garbage can in the distance that seemed like it might be a good spot for lunch. Unclenching his tiny claws from the backpack that he had been gripping for so long, and silently saying a word of thanks to the family that had brought him to freedom, Morpho launched himself into the air. He fluttered toward the trash can, trying to stay away from anyone or anything that might cause him harm. Morpho rummaged through the garbage can and found a few slices of an old orange and a rotting apple that were simply delicious. He also saw some unusual items, including a deflated rubber ball and several broken toys and miniature figurines. "Hey, look at this," thought Morpho, as his gaze landed on a tiny pair of maracas that had probably belonged to one of the miniature figurines. "I love maracas." Morpho picked up the maracas and gave them a gentle shake. "Perfect," he thought. He shook them again and again and began to imitate some of the salsa musicians that he had spent so much time observing. The Tropical Butterfly Pavilion had been a popular location for weddings and other celebrations, and Morpho had spent a lot of time watching the musicians who performed there, particularly the players in the salsa bands. Morpho shook the maracas high toward the sky, then low toward the ground. He shook them quickly, and he tried moving them slowly as he experimented with making different sounds. "Hey, that rhymes," thought Morpho, as he thought about what he was doing. "Shake 'em high, shake 'em low, shake 'em quick, and shake 'em slow." He chanted the rhyme to himself as he moved around in a circle, dancing to his own inner beat and combining new moves with various sounds from the maracas. "This is fun." Morpho heard the sound of singing in the distance and decided to investigate. He tucked the maracas under his middle legs and, after a little difficulty getting into the air because of the added weight, fluttered toward the sound of the singing. At the edge of a field, Morpho could see a group of green bees gathered together under a maple tree. He came to a soft landing several feet behind the bees, but close enough that he could hear what they were singing. Morpho recognized melodies from Beethoven, Mozart, and other classical composers performed a cappella style, with the bees' voices acting as the instruments. "Wow, that's amazing!" Morpho closed his eyes and listened for a few moments, then almost without thinking grabbed the maracas and started playing along. "What's that noise?" The conductor of the Green Bee Chorus signaled to the choir to stop singing and looked around to discover the source of the interruption. Morpho froze mid-movement with the maracas still in his claws. "You, over there," said the conductor in a loud voice. "Are those maracas?" Yes," replied Morpho hesitantly. "That's brilliant," said the conductor. "I never would have thought about combining classical music with a Latin flair, but somehow it works. Will you come over here and play the maracas with us on our next few songs?" "Sure." Overcoming his surprise, Morpho tucked the maracas under his middle legs and flew toward the conductor of the Green Bee Choir. "What's your name?" asked the conductor. "I'm Morpho. Thanks for having me," replied the blue butterfly. "Welcome! I'm Conductor Carlo, leader of the Green Bee Sym-Pho-Nee," said the bee. "We perform classical music a cappella style, with the bees using their voices instead of instruments to play the parts of the cellos, violins, flutes, trumpets, and so on. But every once in a while, we feature guest artists who play actual musical instruments. And that's where you come in. So play the maracas with everything you've got." Morpho smiled, twirled the maracas a few times as a warm-up exercise, then moved into position beside the percussion section. For the next hour, Morpho and the green bees alike were captivated by the sound of classical music accompanied by maracas. Musical pieces by Tchaikovsky, Mahler, Bach, Stravinsky, Vivaldi, and others came alive in a whole new way. When the practice session came to a close, the green bees buzzed with excitement. "This kind of music is energizing and fun," said a bee who performed the part of a cello. "It's like taking a favorite recipe and changing just one ingredient," said another bee from the trumpet section. "It combines the best of the old with something new and spicy and makes you appreciate what you've had all along and see it with fresh eyes." "Let's do it again," said all the bees in the woodwind section. "I think you're right," said Conductor Carlo. "Maracas and classical music are an unexpected combination, two different flavors that go together surprisingly well. We should introduce more people to this beautiful blend. Morpho, will you perform with us this coming weekend at our next concert?" "Absolutely," said Morpho. "Thanks for inviting me." So Morpho played the maracas that weekend with the Green Bee Sym-Pho-Nee and introduced a whole generation to the tantalizing combination of classical music and maracas. The concert was recorded, and a couple of songs made it onto the top 100 list in the world music and alternative music categories almost overnight. Morpho and the Green Bees inspired even more blending of classical and salsa music. In fact, classic salsa music, as it came to be known, became its own genre, and groups of musicians who had never interacted before began working together and came to appreciate each other's skills and talents. On a wider scale, combining classical and salsa music seemed to spark a wave of fusion that spread throughout the arts. Hip-hop musicians and watercolor artists began working together to create audiovisual masterpieces. Country western line dancers and ballerinas developed new dance styles together. And Asian culinary artists teamed up with tie-dye t-shirt makers to create mutually inspired food and fashion shows. A short time later, Morpho, Conductor Carlo, and members of the Green Bee Sym-Pho-Nee held a party in the park where they had all met to celebrate the release of their two newest singles, "Blending is Beautiful" and "Fusion is Fun." A news reporter asked Morpho what words of advice he would like to share with others, and he replied with the following. "First, be ready and take advantage of unexpected opportunities. Second, look for treasures everywhere you are. Third, give your best in every situation. And fourth, understand that great things can lead to more great things. Keep following the path." Here's another way I like to say it. Soar, explore, roar, and be ready for new open doors. The end.